Okay. Up to last classes, we discussed the in simple harmonic motion. We discussed the different characteristic properties of the SHM and simple pendulum. Okay. Now today, let us discuss the motion of a loaded spring or oscillations of a loaded spring. Loaded spring. Loaded spring. Suppose there is a uniform spring, light uniform spring. That means the mass of the spring is negligible. Mass of the spring is negligible. Having certain length L. Okay. Here, one end of the spring is fixed to rigid support. Suppose this is the rigid support. One end of the spring is fixed to rigid support, and at the other end of the light spring, a block having certain mass is fixed. A block having certain mass is fixed. Here, the spring constant of the spring is capital K. Okay, now when the block is slowly released, when block is fixed to the other free end of the spring, and whenever the block is slowly released, it comes down, and whenever the block reaches the position here, whenever the block reaches the position here, the spring extends up to this one, and the block comes to rest at this position. At this position, the block comes to rest. At the instant whenever the block is here at rest, on the block, weight mg acts vertically downwards direction, and because of this weight, initially whenever the block is attached to the spring, there is no extension. At the time, the free end of the spring is up to this only. But whenever the block is released slowly like this, and whenever the block comes to this position, the spring is extended up to this one, and whenever you move the hand further, the block does not come down. That indicates the block is under equilibrium. Whenever the block is under equilibrium, at that time, weight mg acts in downward direction and spring force acts in upward direction. Two forces acts on the block exactly. It is the next concept. Two forces acts on the block exactly in opposite direction, keeps the block in equilibrium. Under equilibrium, the extension of the spring is equal to displacement of the block only now. Under equilibrium, the extension, equilibrium extension, comma x naught is equal to x naught. Equilibrium extension is equal to x naught, say. Then under equilibrium, weight mg balanced by the spring force now. That's why under equilibrium, Fs, that means spring force developed is equal to weight mg. That is equal to Fs means kx naught is equal to mg. That means equilibrium extension is equal to mg by k. It is equation 1. Now, whenever the block is here, whenever the block is at equilibrium position, this is a O. Okay, equilibrium position. At equilibrium, or it is the mean position. It is also called as the equilibrium position, is also called as the mean position or equilibrium position. Suppose from this equilibrium position, the block is slightly displaced through a small distance. The block is displaced slightly through a small distance, say x. X is very small distance. From equilibrium position, when block is displaced, a very small distance, x, very small distance x downwards, and when you release the block, small distance x downwards, and then release the block, what happens? When from the equilibrium position, when the block is displaced through a small distance x, and when you release them, then what happens? You see, at this position, what is the net force acts on the block? At the equilibrium position, what is the net force acts on the block? You respond in the chat box. When block is under equilibrium position, net force is 0. From that position, block is displaced to a small distance x. Okay, small distance x. Then there is a net force acts on the block upwards. No, what is the net force acts on the block upwards? Net force acts on the block net force on block. Net force on the block is equal to F is equal to K into X. ఎందుకంటే ఇక్కడ వరకు నెట్ ఈక్విలిబ్రియం పొజిషన్ దగ్గర ఉన్నప్పుడు నెట్ ఫోర్స్ యాక్ట్స్ ఆన్ ది బ్లాక్ is 0. From that position, when the block is displaced with a small distance, an additional force is developed in the spring. That additional force is equal to K into X only, no? Additional force is equal to K into X. Okay, the additional force acts on the block K into X is equal to the net force acts on the block in backward direction. Whenever the block is displaced downwards to a small distance X, this additional force acts on the block. Additional force is developed in the spring that acts on the block and pulls the block back to its original back to its mean position. That means this force is called restoring force acts on the block. Because of restoring force, the block, whenever the block is displaced downwards and when you release them, then the block come back to the original position because of this force. That's why it is called restoring force. So this restoring force acts on the block is equal to mass into acceleration. As it is the restoring force, we have to put a minus sign. From this acceleration of the block, whenever the block is displaced to a distance say x, or whenever the block is at a displacement x from the equilibrium position or mean position, at the time acceleration a is equal to minus kx is equal to ma. Minus sign represents the restoring force acts on the block opposite to the displacement. That's why minus sign we have written. So minus kx is equal to ma, or a is equal to, we can write minus k by m. A is equal to minus k by m into x, no? Into x, where k by m is the constant. Because once the loaded spring is taken, loaded spring means load attached to the spring. Such spring is called loaded spring. In case of loaded spring, once the block is suspended, mass of the block does not change and the spring constant of the spring does not change. That's why in that formula m, k are constant. Whenever it is constant, then a is proportional to minus x, no? A is proportional to minus x. That means acceleration of the block is directly proportional to displacement from equilibrium position and opposite to each other. Minus sign represents opposite to each other. And moreover, acceleration is always directed towards the mean position. Whenever the block is displaced from this place, then the acceleration is always directed towards the fixed point or mean position only. That's why it is the required condition for simple harmonic motion, no? That's why, yeah, it is the required condition for simple harmonic motion. Hence, in any case, first you have to find the restoring force acts on the block. Is it satisfies this condition or not? We have to check. If it satisfies, as it satisfies, therefore block makes simple harmonic oscillations. Block makes SHM, or block is in SHM, or block makes simple harmonic oscillations. When block makes simple harmonic oscillations, then we know already in case of a body makes simple harmonic oscillations, the acceleration of the body is equal to minus omega square into x. Already we derived this formula. So as the block makes simple harmonic oscillations, then use this formula. A is equal to minus omega square into x. Now we compare these two. When you compare equation 1 and 2, instead of omega square, what is the value there? What is the value there? K by m, no? Therefore, from 1 and 2, instead of omega square, k by m is there. You write k by m. Or omega is equal to root k by m, no? Omega is equal to root k by m. That means the angular frequency of the load attached to the spring is equal to root k by m. You see here, as it obeys the simple condition for SHM, then when you displace the block from the mean position through certain distance downwards, and when you release them, then it makes up and down oscillations like this. Up and down oscillations like this. With angular frequency omega is called this one. What is the time period? Omega means 2 pi by capital T. You may ask, what is the frequency? Omega means 2 pi into frequency of. If they ask the time period T is equal to 2 pi into, do cross multiplication. T is equal to 2 pi into root m by k. Do cross multiplication. Root m by k. So this is the formula for time period of the load attached to the spring. So from this it is clear that the time period of the loaded spring depends on the mass of the block suspended and the spring constant k. These are the factors on which the time period of the loaded spring depends. Or these are the factors on which angular frequency depends. Or these are the factors on which frequency of the loaded spring depends. So it is very, very important. Here, is it depends on acceleration due to gravity? Is the time period depends on acceleration due to gravity? The acceleration due to gravity term is not involved in this formula. That's why the load attached to the spring does not depend on the acceleration due to gravity. Suppose on the surface of the earth, if you do the experiment on the at the center of the earth, inside the satellite, on the surface of the moon, time period does not change. Suppose if you perform the simple pendulum experiment at the center of the earth, on the surface of the earth, on the surface of the moon, inside the satellite, G values are different. In case of simple pendulum, time period is equal to 2 pi root L by G. In that case, time period of the simple pendulum depends on G, small g value. But at different places, G values are different, no? That's why the time period will change in case of simple pendulum. But whereas in case of loaded spring, time period never be changed. Time period depends on the load attached to the spring and spring. If spring and load are remains constant, kept constant, anywhere else you say you do this experiment, the time period does not alter. Even at the center of the spring, at the center of the earth also, even at infinity also, even in case of freely falling lift also. Already we know in case of simple pendulum in a freely falling lift, what is the time period of the simple pendulum? Tell me. In case of freely falling lift, what is the time period of the simple pendulum in a freely falling lift? Time period is equal to infinity, no? In a freely falling lift, time period of the simple pendulum is not definable, means infinity. Infinity means time taken to complete one oscillation. Infinity means the pendulum does not make oscillations. Okay, but in case of this loaded spring, even the lift is falling freely. The time period of oscillation of the spring does not change because it does not depends on effective acceleration. It depends on only M and K. That's why even in satellite also, what is the time period means this only. But in case of simple pendulum, what is the time period of the simple pendulum in the satellite means that is infinity. Infinity means it does not make oscillations. Okay, so this is the time period of the load attached to the spring. From this, time period is directly proportional to root M, inversely proportional to root K. K is the spring constant. Okay, so now related to this loaded spring, we have to discuss the time different places. You see, suppose the block is displaced by a distance, say x is equal to a. Now this becomes lower extreme position, and through what distance in lower in downwards direction it comes down. Through what distance it displaces while making simple harmonic motions from the mean position also in upward direction also it displaces by the same amount. Okay, so it makes oscillations with the amplitude capital A. What is the amplitude of oscillation? They may ask in the same question, they may ask what is the amplitude. Suppose here, whenever the block is displaced a little bit downwards, it is the equilibrium distance, no? It is the equilibrium distance. When you displace the block downwards and when you release them, it makes oscillations with a time period equal to equilibrium extension of the spring. Equilibrium extension of the spring means x naught, no? Equilibrium extension of the spring means x naught. That's why x naught and x naught. That is equal to. Therefore, x naught is the amplitude of oscillation of the spring. Next. Because it is the equilibrium position. From this equilibrium position, to what distance it displaces? Suppose it is displaced with a distance say x naught, then it makes oscillations with amplitude x. If it is x naught, this is equal to, it makes oscillations with x naught the amplitude. In such a way we can write. Here mass of the spring is neglected. Here mass of the spring is neglected. Okay, in such case. So in these note points. First one. Suppose on the smooth horizontal surface, a block is connected to one end of the spring having spring constant K. It is a light spring. That means mass of the spring is negligible. Okay. Mass of the block is M. whenever the block is here, it is the unstretched condition of the unstretched length of the spring. అంటే స్ప్రింగ్ లో కంప్రెషన్ కానీ ఎక్స్టెన్షన్ కానీ ఏమీ లేదు, ఇది అన్స్ట్రెచ్డ్ కండిషన్ ఉంది. ఓకే, ఈ పొజిషన్ దగ్గర నుంచి బ్లాక్ ని కొంత డిస్ప్లే చేసి రిలీజ్ చేసాం. ఈ పొజిషన్ దగ్గర ఉన్నప్పుడు బ్లాక్ మీద ఎటువంటి ఫోర్స్ పనిచేయట్లేదు కాబట్టి నెట్ ఫోర్స్ 0 కాబట్టి ఇట్ ఈస్ అండర్ ఈక్విలిబ్రియం. నౌ whenever it is displaced to a distance x, then it makes oscillations control like this. Then what is the time period means? Only one spring is there. Okay, that's why time period T is equal to 2 pi into root m by k only. It is the time period of the load attached to the spring when it makes oscillations along this direction. Okay, second one. Next one. We know whenever the load attached to the spring is displaced by a length x, here it is displaced by a length x here by applying the force in this direction. Okay, then F is equal to kx, we can write now. F is equal to k into x, because the load is displaced by a distance equal to x, that is the extension of the spring. When extension of the spring is x, then spring force developed in the spring is equal to F. Then what is the extension of the spring? Sorry, what is the extension of the spring means? From this we can write x is equal to F by k. Extension is equal to F by k. Okay, suppose if the Young's modulus of material of the spring is say y, then y is equal to general formula F by a E by L. Okay, that is equal to, from this formula F is equal to, we can write from this formula F is equal to YAE by L, or F is equal to Y into area of cross section of the spring. Suppose this is the spring, say this is the spring, then area of cross section is this one. This is the area of cross section capital A. Okay, Young's modulus y into x. Here x is the extension of the spring by original length L. X is the extension of the spring by original length L. Okay, y is equal to x by L into area of cross section capital A. That is equal to spring force F is equal to k into x. We can write k into x. X cancel. Okay, area of cross section of this spring. So spring constant k is directly proportional to Young's modulus, we can write now, because YA by L is equal to k. YA by L is equal to k. So k is proportional to y, k is inversely proportional to L, k is proportional to area of cross section of the spring, or here k is also proportional to, inversely proportional to number of turns. Suppose if number of turns is more, length is more, no? If number of turns is more, length is more. That's why the spring constant k is also inversely proportional to number of turns, where n, number of turns in the spring. So here this relation is very, very important. The spring constant is proportional to Young's modulus, inversely proportional to length of the spring, proportional to area of cross section of the spring, inversely proportional to number of turns in the spring. Because if number of turns is more, natural length is more, where L is the natural length of the spring, where L is the natural length of the spring. So that is also important one. Next, third one. Suppose if mass of the spring is negligible, then the formula for time period is equal to T is equal to 2 by root L by Z. Already we derived. Here also T is equal to 2 by root M by K. In this case or in this case, both are same. Next, suppose if you are having, if mass of the spring is not given, extension, the equilibrium extension is given. In such case, what is the formula for time period? So when equilibrium extension in the spring, is equal to x naught, then you see, Whenever the equilibrium extension is x naught, in that case the weight balances the spring force. No, that's why in such case spring force Fs is equal to k into x naught, that is equal to m into z. From this m by k is equal to, we can write x naught by z. No, therefore in this case time period of the loaded spring t is equal to 2 pi into root m by k is there. That is equal to 2 pi into root m by k means x naught by z. M by k is x naught by z. As it is constant, this is also constant. That's why it does not depend on the equilibrium extension. It depends on only m by k. Okay. T is equal to 2 pi into root x naught by j. This is also important, x by j. This is also important formula. Sometimes you will not be given mass of the block attached and spring constant. Just they give the equilibrium extension of the spring is x naught. Then what is the time period of the loaded spring means 2 pi root x naught by z is the time period of the load attached to the spring. Next, fourth one. Already notes I kept in the group now last week only. So same notes. In the same notes, it is also there. Next, fourth note point. Suppose two springs are joined in series. Suppose two springs having different spring constants are joined in series like this. And a load of mass m is attached. In this case, what is the time period? T is equal to 2 pi into root of load attached m by spring constant. Whenever the two springs are joined in series and a load is attached, and if the load is displaced downwards and when you release them, it makes oscillations like this. Then what is the time period of oscillation of the load attached to the spring? Time period does not depend on g. In previous case, time period is equal to 2 pi into root m by k, which is equal to 2 pi into root x naught by z. No, if g increases, x naught also increases. If acceleration due to gravity is more, x naught is also more, so that the ratio remains constant. It does not depend on t. Time period does not depend on x naught alone. If g is more, x naught is also more. If g is less, x naught is also less. That means x naught is directly proportional to z. That's why this ratio remains constant. Whenever it remains constant, t does not remains constant. T remains constant. Okay, that's why it does not depend on x naught and z. Okay, next. Here, in case of simple pendulum, time period t is equal to 2 pi into root L by z. In that case, T is constant, but length of the pendulum may be changed, That's why time period also changes. That's why time period depends on the length and acceleration due to gravity there. Even length does not change. If g value changes, time period will be affected. But here, if mass of the block does not change, spring does not change. When g is more, x naught will be more, so that the ratio remains constant. Hence, time period remains constant. That's why time period does not depend on the x naught value and z value. Okay, Manohar. Okay, madam. Anjan Teja, okay, you are good. You are right. Here, whenever the two springs are joined in series like this, and if the load is displaced a little bit and you release them, it makes oscillations. What is the time period? Means 2 pi into root m by. Whenever the two springs are connected in series, then effective spring constant of the two springs we have to write. Here in this case, all the springs are light and light springs. Light springs means mass of the springs are negligible. So from this, t is equal to 2 pi into root of m by. What about the effective spring constant of the two when they are in series? When they are in series, what is the effective spring constant? Is it k1 plus k2 or any other formula? Anybody else? Yeah. If effective spring constant is k effective, then 1 by k effective is equal to 1 by k1 plus 1 by k2. So when you take LCM, then k effective is equal to k1 k2 by k1 plus k2 we have tried. So instead of k effective, we can write k1 k2 by k1 plus k2. It is the effective spring constant when two springs are connected in series. Okay, next, if the two springs are connected in parallel, from the same rigid support when two springs are connected in parallel like this, having spring constants k1 and k2. Then what is the spring constant? Time period. 2 pi into root of mass m pi. Effective spring constant means when two springs are connected in parallel, then effective spring constant is K1 K2. K1 plus K2. It is the formula we have to write. Okay, next is 6. When two springs are connected like this, it is the smooth. One block is kept here, having mass m. One spring is connected here, having spring constant K1. Another spring is connected here, having spring constant K2. Okay, now in this case, what is the time period? 2 pi into root of m by K effective. What is the K effective here? In this case, what is the K effective? Tell me. In this case, what is the K effective? In this case, what is the K effective? No, K1 plus K2 only. Already I said. Because whenever the block is displaced through certain distance, say x, then here compression takes place and in this spring extension takes place. If here, whenever the compression of the spring is x, then extension of the spring is also x only, no? Because when the block is here, the two springs are in untouched condition. When the block is displaced to a small distance x, then compression takes place in this spring and extension takes place in this spring. Compression in one spring and extension in other spring, if both are same, in such case also the two springs are said to be in parallel only. The two springs are said to be in parallel only. That's why effective time period is effective spring constant is K1 plus K2 only. That's why time period is equal to 2 pi into root of m by K1 plus K2 only here also. Okay. Okay, now very good. Anjan Teja. Okay, you are right. Harsh Teja, you are also right. Next. Sixth one. Sixth one. When a load of mass m is attached to the spring of spring constant K1, time period is T1. You see here, when a load of mass m is attached to a spring of spring constant K1, time period is T1. When the same load is attached to another spring having spring constant K2, time period is T2. Time period is T2. Okay, if those two springs are in series, when these two springs are joined in series like this, having spring constant K1, K2, and same load is attached, what is the time period? That is the case. When two springs having spring constant K1, K2 are attached to the same load at different times, then the time periods are T1, T2. When both are connected in series across the same load, then what is the time period? In this case, what is the time period? That is the case. It was previously asked which it was asked, I think, in mains only. They asked mains or advanced, I don't know, but I think mains they asked in mains. So in this case, what is the effective time period? What is T? Relation among T1, T2, and T. Here, as the two springs are connected in series, effective time period is Ts. Ts is equal to question mark. You see, in first case, time period T1 is equal to, we can write 2 pi into root of m by k. Okay, T2 is equal to 2 pi into root of m by k1, here m by k2. M by k1 and m by k2. Okay, now here from this formula you see, you square on both sides, then T1 square is equal to 4 pi square into m by k1 square. Implies k1 is equal to 4 pi square m by k1. Okay, sorry, T1 square. Okay, so here K1 is equal to 4 pi square m by T1 square. That is equation 1. Similarly, K2 is equal to 4 pi square m by T2 square. 4 pi square m by T2 square. This is equation 2. In this case, whenever two springs are connected in series, then effective spring constant K is equal to 1 by K1 plus 1 by K2. No? So that's why if K is the effective spring constant, then if K is effective spring constant, in this case, comma, then 1 by K is equal to 1 by K1 plus 1 by K2. No? Okay, 1 by K means as the combination of the two springs, if the effective spring constant is K, you replace these two with the another spring having effective spring constant K and same load is applied. In that case, then 1 by K means 1 by K is equal to, how we can write here? 1 by K means 1 by K is equal to T square by 4 pi square m. T square by 4 pi square m is equal to T1 square by 4 pi square m plus T2 square by 4 pi square m. Am I right? If the effective spring constant is K, you replace these two springs by a single spring having spring constant K and same load is attached. In that case, what is the time period? That is the effective time period when both are in series. If effective time period is say Ts, you write Ts. Then this Ts square by 4 pi square m is equal to 1 by K. So instead of 1 by K, I have written like this. Similarly, 1 by K1, 1 by K2 from this formula. You cancel this. Then Ts square is equal to T1 square plus Ts square is equal to T1 square plus T2 square. Ts square is equal to T1 square plus T2 square. Or Ts is equal to T1 square plus T2 square under root. This is the relation among effective time period when two springs are connected and time periods when same load is attached to the two springs separately. This formula is also important. They ask this question. If the two springs are connected in parallel, in this case, if two springs are parallel, then effective spring constant K effective is equal to K1 plus K2. No? Then effective spring constant K effective can be written as 4 pi m by, whenever the two springs are in parallel, then effective spring constant is a Tp. Then 4 pi K effective spring constant is equal to 4 pi square m by T square, we can write 4 pi square m by effective spring constant when they are in parallel. T square is equal to K1 means 4 pi square m by T1 square plus 4 pi square m by T2 square. So cancel them. Then 1 by Tp square is equal to 1 by T1 square plus 1 by T2 square. Or Tp is equal to, when you take LCM, T1 T2 by T1 square plus T2 square, you will get, I think. Effective spring constant when two springs are connected in series parallel is equal to T1 T2 by, sorry, here square root is there. No? This one. This is the effective time period when these two springs are connected in parallel. In parallel means like this. If individual springs are connected like this, time periods are T1, T2. When they are connected in parallel, effective time period is Tp. Then relation among them is Tp is equal to T1, T2 by square root of T1 square plus T2 square. That is the effective time period. Okay. Next. Shall I erase this part? Shall I erase this part? Okay. Seventh one. Suppose three springs having spring constants K1, K2, and K3. These springs having spring constants K1, K2, K3 are connected like this. And the load attached is displaced a little bit and release them. Then it sustains oscillations. What is its time period? Time period general formula is time period is equal to 2 pi into root of load attached by effective spring constant. When more than one spring are there, one spring is there, then effective spring constant we have to write. In this case, tell me what is the effective spring constant? Here this K1, okay. Here these two are parallel. Whenever these two are parallel, effective spring constant is K2 plus K3. No? So you replace these two springs by effective spring constant K2 plus K3. Now K1, K2 plus K3 both are in series. When both are in series, effective reciprocal of effective spring constant is equal to reciprocal of individual spring constants 1 by K1 plus 1 by. Here the effective spring constant is K2 plus K3. You write here. That is equal to take LCM. Then K2 plus K3 plus K1 whole by K1 into K2 plus K3. That is 1 by K effective. Therefore, K effective is equal to K1 plus K2, sorry, K1 into K effective is equal to K1 into K2 plus K3 whole by K1 plus K2 plus K3 we can write now. Therefore, time period T is equal to 2 pi into root of M by K effective means this one. K1 of K2 plus K3 by means into K1 plus K2 plus K3. In this way, you have to write. If K1 is equal to K2 is equal to K3 is equal to say K, that means all strings are identical. All are having same string constant. Then whatever the time period. Time period T is equal to 2 pi into root of M into K1 plus K2 plus K3 means we can write 3K by K into K plus K means 2K. 2K into K. 2K square. Here K square cancel. Therefore, time period T is equal to 2 pi into root of 3M by 2K. This is the effective time period. In this way, you have to do. Yeah. In this way, you have to do. Okay. Next, one more important topic. One more important note point. Suppose, okay. Shall I write this one? Shall I write this one? Shall I write this one? Next, I think eighth one. Eighth one. Suppose by means of three springs, a particle of mass m is attached to three identical springs A, B, C, each of force constant K as shown in the figure. Here, by means of three identical springs, you see here, there is a particle of mass m. Here, this is the particle of mass m. Here, three identical springs, each of spring constant say K, are attached to the particle, and two springs, here three springs, other ends of the three springs are attached to the rigid supports like this. So that whenever the particle is under equilibrium, at that time the angle between these two is 90. In such a way, the three springs are fixed. Okay, now if the particle is displaced a little bit downwards, if the particle, this particle is displaced along the length of one spring downwards here in this direction. Initially, whenever the springs are like this and particle is like this, all the springs are in unstretched condition. All springs are in unstretched condition. all springs are in unstretched condition. That means no extension, no compression. Unstretched condition. Unstretched condition initially. In unstretched condition initially, when particle is at rest. When particle is at rest. Particle is at rest. Okay, now if the particle is displaced a little bit downwards, if the particle is displaced a little bit downwards, of course, very small distance downwards, then the spring occupies the position like this. This spring occupies the position like this. Okay, then whenever the spring occupies the position like this, immediately the spring exerts the restraining force on the particle in this direction. Here, restraining force on the particle in this direction. This is say F1, this is also equal to F1. And at the same time, whenever the particle is displaced by a length y, then this spring compresses, no? That's why spring force acts on the particle in upward direction. Suppose it is say first spring, second spring, third spring. Okay, here F1 and F1 is equal to F2. F2, F1 both are equal because these two are symmetric about this point. So whenever it is displaced like this, as the two springs are extended symmetrically, same spring force are developed. That's why here F1 and here F2 both are equal. And at the same time, whenever the particle is displaced like this in this direction, this spring is compressed. That's why spring force acts on the particle in upward direction. F3. So what is the net? Whenever the particle is displaced downwards, what is the net force acts on the particle upwards? That is the restraining force. So we have to find the net force acts on the particle upwards. Okay. If compression in the spring 3 is say y because the particle is displaced along the third spring. That's why compression in the spring third spring is say y. Then what is the elongation of the spring B and C? Elongation of the spring B and C. Here we see. If it is y, initially this angle is 45, no? As it is 90, it is 90, it is 45. So whenever it is 45, approximately as it is displaced very small distance in downwards direction, then almost all this angle does not change. This angle is 45 degree only. No considerable change because this particle is displaced a little bit downwards, not more distance. A little bit downwards means almost all these two are still perpendicular to each other approximately. But in order to understand the diagram here, I drawn more distance. But this displacement of the particle in downwards direction is very small, so that angle between these two does not change considerably. Hence, almost all 45 we can take. If it is 45, then from this point you draw a perpendicular line. Here, this length and this length almost all same. This is the extra distance elongated by the spring when particle is displaced by a distance equal to y. No? What is that length? Y sin y cos 45. It is also y cos 45. This is also y cos 45 for this spring. Y cos 45. Then what is the spring force developed? If you know the spring constant y cos 45, in this direction the spring force F1 is equal to F2 is equal to spring constant is K. It is extended by a length equal to y cos 45. That's why K into spring constant K into extension of the spring 1 and 2 is y cos 45. This is the spring force developed in this spring and in this spring. At the same time, what is the spring force developed in this spring? As the particle is displaced downwards to a distance y. Say here the spring force developed in the spring is ky because compression of the spring is y now. That's why ky. The equivalent force is developed in opposite direction. That's why F3 is equal to k into y. Therefore, net force acts on the particle is how much? Net force acts on the particle F net is equal to F, which is equal to, you see, if it is F1 is in this direction, their component in this direction is equal to F1 cos 45. And here it is equal to F2 cos 45. Of course, F1 and F2 are equal. Therefore, whenever the particle is displaced a little bit downwards to a distance y, then on this particle, opposite to the displacement y, is F3 force and F2, F1 cos 45, F2 cos 45 acts. So net force acts on the particle in opposite direction is equal to F1 cos 45 plus F2 cos 45 plus F3 only. This is equal to F net force is equal to F is equal to F1 means K into F1 is equal to KY cos 45 plus F2 means that is also KY into cos 45. Sorry, here F1 is KY cos 45 into cos 45 is there, no? Into cos 45 we have to write. Instead of F1 only, I have written this one. Into cos 45 is there. Into cos 45. Plus F2 is same. That's why you can write into 2 directly. Plus F3 means K into Y. You take K common. So here 2KY into cos 45 1 by 2 means 1 by 2 plus K into Y. That is equal to 2 cancel. Therefore 2KY you will get. F is equal to 2KY. But this force acts on the particle is the opposite to displacement now. This force, net force acts on the particle is in this direction, whereas the displacement of the particle is in opposite direction. As F and Y are opposite to each other, then F is equal to minus 2K into Y we can write. F means mass into acceleration, mass of the particle into acceleration. That is the net force acts on the particle is equal to minus 2K into Y. Or A is equal to minus 2K by M into Y. For the given arrangement, K is constant, M is constant. That's why A is proportional to minus Y now. A is proportional to minus Y. That's why it obeys the condition for SHM. Hence, it is in SHM. Hence, it is in SHM. When it is in SHM, A is equal to minus omega square into Y formula is there. No? Compare them. Then omega is equal to square root of 2K by M. That is equal to 2 pi by T. That implies time period is equal to 2 pi into root of M by 2K. The effective spring constant of these things is equal to 2K. That's why M by effective spring constant instead of K, I have written 2K. 2 pi root M by effective spring constant means 2K. So this is the answer. This was asked in advance. This model was asked in advance. Sometimes these things are fixed at 120, 120, 120. Same concept. 120, 120, 120 means 60, 60. Same method, but instead of 45, we have to take 60. Same method we have to follow. Okay. This method is also important one. Time period of the simple pendulum is independent on amplitude of the particle or amplitude of the load attached here. Time period does not depend on the amplitude of oscillation. That is called law of isochronism. Time period of the pendulum does not depend on the amplitude of the oscillating particle. That's why that is called law of isochronism. In case of simple pendulum, the time period does not depend on the mass of the load attached. Mass of the load attached. It depends on the effective length of the body only. Okay. Next. Okay. Next one. Shall I erase this part? Next, ninth one. When load suspended by a rubber string, light rubber string, light light string, not string, string, rubber string. Okay, then what about the time period? Here, by means of it is the extensible string. Rubber string means it is extensible. A load is suspended like this. It is the rubber string. Rubber string means rubber string will be extend. So rubber string will extend. Okay, when vertical vibrations of a mass suspended from the rubber string. Here, the load attached is displaced a little bit downwards, and when you suppose a block is suspended here, the block is displaced downwards to certain distance, say y, and you release them. Then it makes one for oscillations like this. What is the time period of oscillation of the load? Whenever the rubber string, whenever the load is suspended under equilibrium, suppose actually the length of the rubber string is up to this only, which is equal to L. But whenever the load is attached here, then the rubber string extends by a length equal to say E. X is equal to E. Okay. Now it is under equilibrium. Under equilibrium, the weight mg acts downward direction and tension the string acts in upward direction. Tension is the restoring force. So F is equal to mg, no? But in case of rubber string, whenever it is extended, then F is equal to, how we can write? Young's modulus Y is equal to F by A E by L, or F is equal to Y A E by L, no? That is called Y. Area of cross section of the rubber string is A by original length L into elongation is equal to X. Now we substitute this value here from 1. 2 in 1, it is a 2. 2 in 1 gives F is equal to mg. Okay, that is equal to F is equal to mg. That is equal to, here mg is equal to YAX by L. Here, as force is in this, weight is in this direction, X is in opposite direction, you put a minus sign. Okay, then from this formula, G is equal to, okay, the restoring force developed in the string is equal to YAE by L, that is called YA into X by L. Okay, so from this formula, okay, you see, okay, here you see, this is not the formula. So you see here, initially whenever the load is attached to the spring, at the time, now the load is under equilibrium. From the equilibrium position, this is under equilibrium now. Okay, now the load is displaced slightly a distance y and you release them. Then it makes oscillations like this. When it makes oscillations, in this case, here at this position, the weight balances the restoring force developed in the rubber string. But from that equilibrium position, when you displace the load in downward direction, an additional force is developed. That restoring force developed here, restoring force F is equal to, from the formula, since y is equal to F by A, E by L means X by L. X is the extension, the X means Y by L. From this, F is equal to Y A small y by L. It is the restoring force developed in the spring. As it is the restoring force, we have to put minus sign. Which is the net force acts on the block in upward direction when it is displaced to a distance y downwards. This is equal to m into acceleration A. Therefore, acceleration comma A is equal to minus YA by ml into y. This is equation 1. Here, for the given arrangement, YA does not change. But as long as it makes oscillations, Y value changes. That's why only variable is Y, so A changes. So A is proportional to minus 5 now, because this is constant. A is proportional to minus 5. So it follows the condition for SHM. It follows the condition for SHM. Therefore, A is equal to minus omega square Y is there. We can compare with this one. So when you compare them, omega square is equal to YA by ML under root. That is equal to 2 pi by T. Then time period T is equal to 2 pi into root of ML by Y into A. This is the formula for time period of the load attached to the rubber string. Time period of the load attached to the rubber string. Provided the mass of the load attached, length of this rubber string, natural length of the rubber string it is. It is the natural length of the rubber string. Okay. Young's modulus Y and area of cross section A. Okay. Area of cross section of the rubber string is A. Then time period is equal to this one. This is one more formula. Next. Okay, shall I erase this one? Next, I think ninth one, no? Ninth or 10th? Ninth or 10th one? 10th one. Okay. Tenth one. A cylindrical piston. Listen carefully. It was previously asked a bit. A cylindrical piston of mass M slides smoothly inside a long cylindrical closed at one end. Suppose here there is a long cylindrical vessel is there, whose one end is closed. It is a cylindrical vessel whose one end is closed. Here it is enclosed with air or gas, and it is closed by means of a piston. Piston having mass capillary. Mass of the piston. Mass of piston is capillary. So it is the piston. Okay, mass of the piston is capillary. By means of a frictionless piston, some gas is enclosed in the cylindrical vessel, which is fixed. Cylindrical vessel is fixed. Area of cross section of the piston is capital A. Area of cross section of the piston. Area of cross section is equal to capital A. Okay, mass is capital M. Okay, now whenever the piston is under equilibrium position, whenever the piston is under equilibrium position, at that time, the length of the air column in this tube is equal to this one, say, that is equal to H. Length of the air column is equal to H. Okay, now length of the air column is equal to H. Initially, as it is under equilibrium, the pressure of the air inside the cylindrical vessel and outside both are equal. That means outside there is atmospheric pressure P naught, say, inside also atmospheric pressure only. From this equilibrium position, which is the equilibrium position? A. Equilibrium position of course, this is a P. P and Q. PQ. PQ. Equilibrium position of the piston. Equilibrium position of the piston. Now, whenever the equilibrium position is there in the piston, the force due to pressure inside the air, the force due to pressure of the gas inside and pressure of the gas outside, both are equal in magnitude, but they are in opposite direction. Because of pressure inside, the force due to this gas acts on the piston in this direction. Because of atmospheric pressure, the force acts on the piston in this direction. As both are equal in magnitude and opposite in direction, the net force is zero, so that the piston is in equilibrium at this position. Okay, now from this position, the piston is displaced to a small distance x along horizontal direction towards left. Then, what about the pressure inside the gas? Is it more than atmospheric pressure or atmospheric pressure? Pressure outside is equal to atmospheric pressure only. Pressure outside is atmospheric pressure because it is open to atmosphere. Whenever the piston is here, the pressure inside the air, the pressure of the air inside the piston vessel is also same. But whenever the piston is displaced to a small distance x, as the gas is compressed, as the gas inside the cylindrical vessel is compressed, if the pressure is more or less, it is more, it becomes increased. Such pressure is say P. So P is the pressure inside the cylinder when piston is displaced by X. So piston X length display చేసినప్పుడు ఇటువైపు X distance display చేసినప్పుడు దాంట్లో ఉండే ప్రెజర్. Now you apply the Boyle's law. Initial గా according to Boyle's law, at initial pressure of the air inside the cylindrical vessel is equal to atmospheric pressure only. Okay, and volume of the gas V1 is equal to area of cross section. Volume of the gas means area of cross section of the piston into length h. So area of cross section into length h. Next, finally, pressure P2 is equal to P. Final volume V2 is equal to area of cross section into what is the length of the air column? Whenever the piston reaches the point here, then the length of the air column becomes h minus x. No? So volume is equal to area of cross section to length of the air column h minus x. Okay, but temperature does not change. It is happen under isothermal condition. So temperature of gas is constant. That means the volume and pressure changes in the gas occurs at isothermal process. In isothermal process, at a constant temperature, when pressure and volume changes takes place, then the gas obeys Boyle's law. No? Gas obeys Boyle's law. So according to Boyle's law, P1 V1 is equal to P2 V2. P1 means P. P1 means P, no? P into volume. Sorry, P1 means this P0 into volume A into H is equal to P2 means P into volume A into small h minus x. Okay, therefore small a, capital A cancel. Okay, therefore from that pressure P is equal to P0 into h by small h minus x. No, P0 minus h by small h minus x. Okay, therefore net pressure difference across the piston, and inside piston pressure is inside the vessel. The pressure here is P, outside P0. So therefore, due to this pressure P0, the force acts on the piston in this direction is F0. In this direction, because of this pressure, in this direction, the force acts on the. So whenever the piston is here, because piston is displaced, whenever the piston is here, the force due to atmospheric pressure acts in this direction, that is F0, and force due to pressure inside the vessel is equal to F that acts in this direction. No doubt, as P is greater than P0, net force acts on the piston is. Therefore, net force acts on the piston. Net force on piston F is equal to net force acts on the piston. F net is equal to F minus F0. What is F? F means pressure into area of cross section. Pressure into area of cross section minus F0 and P0 into area of cross section. And from outside, as atmospheric pressure acts on the piston, then force due to atmospheric pressure acts on the piston is equal to P0 into A. No, pressure into area gives force only. No? So from this, net force is equal to P means P0 h by h minus x. Okay, into area of cross section A minus P0 into A. That is equal to, take LCM. When you take LCM, h will be cancelled. Okay, when you take LCM, what is the value you will get? Tell me. P0 A we can take common. P0 A we can take common. When you take LCM, what is the value you will get? Tell me. P0 A you take common, minus h cancel, plus x you will be having. Okay, therefore I think you will get P0 into P naught A into X by H minus X, I think you will get. P naught A into, is it correct or not? P naught A into X by H minus X. Yeah, you will get like that only. Now, so yeah, always we have to displace the piston from the equilibrium position to a small distance. And then what is the net force acts on that? Net force we have to calculate. So F net is equal to P naught A into X by H minus X you will get. Okay. But here displacement X is very small compared with this length one. Since X is by far less than H, this X can be neglected. Therefore, F net is equal to P naught A by H into X. This is the, whenever the piston is displaced in this direction, the net force acts on the piston in opposite direction. That's why both are in opposite direction. That's why you put minus sign. Since F net and H, sorry, X are opposite to each other. Or as it is the restoring force, net force acts on the piston is the restoring force. That's why here only we can put minus sign. Okay, no problem. So from this mass of the part, mass of the piston capital M into acceleration small a is equal to minus P naught A by H into X. Okay. R small a is equal to acceleration small a is equal to acceleration of the piston small a is equal to also very important one. Therefore, acceleration of piston small a is equal to minus P naught A by is the acceleration of the piston small a is equal to minus P naught A by M into H, capital M into H into X. This is equation 2. From equation 2, for the given arrangement, mass of the piston does not change, atmosphere does not change, area of cross section of the piston does not change. Initial length of the air column that is fixed. Initial length, no, that is fixed. So whenever it makes oscillations like this, only X value changes. Because of that, A value changes. That's why these two are only variables and this is constant. As it is constant, A is proportional to minus X. That means here also, whenever the piston displaces to a small distance X, in such case, when you release them, then it sustains to and fro oscillations and follows the condition for SHM. Okay, that's why we can use the formula A is equal to minus omega square into X. This is equation 3. Compare 2 and 3. From 2 and 3, omega square is equal to P naught A by capital M into H under root. That is equal to 2 pi by capital T we can write. Therefore, time period of the oscillating piston, time period of oscillating piston, time period of oscillating piston, time period of oscillating piston, comma, T is equal to 2 pi into root of MH capital M small h by P naught into A, where P naught is the pressure acts on the piston from outside. Of course, here which is the atmosphere pressure. It is the, whenever the piston is under equilibrium length of the air column in the cylinder. H equilibrium length of air column in piston. Okay, M is mass of the piston we know, P naught we know, A area of cross section. Okay, this is the formula for time period of the piston. When it is displaced a little bit and when you release them, then it sustains oscillations like this. It is the time period of the piston. Okay, next. Okay, have you noted? Shall I erase this one? Okay. Already all these are in your notes. Already kept the notes in last week only. No? In that notes, all these derivations are there. It was previously asked bit. 11th one. Suppose a piece of wood on the surface of liquid, a piece of wood is kept so that it is floating over the surface of the liquid. It is the wooden piece. It is floating over the surface of the liquid. Mass of the wooden block is a Kaplan. Mass of the wooden block is Kaplan. When it is floating over the surface of the liquid, what is the net force acts on the block? Tell me. Whenever it is floating over the surface of the liquid, then what is the net force acts on the block? Initially, whenever it is floating, the height of the block over the surface of the liquid is small h. Height of the block over the surface of the liquid is small h. Height of the block over the surface, or we take total height of the block is a small h. And whenever it is floating, the length of the block above the surface of liquid or outside the surface of liquid is h naught. Whenever the block is floating over the surface of liquid, then the height of the block over the surface of liquid is h naught, and the total length of the block is h. Okay, here it is the wooden block. Wooden block, it is floating. So whenever it is floating like this, whenever it is floating, then the weight of the wooden block is equal to buoyancy, because whenever it is floating, then weight acts vertically downwards direction and buoyant force acts vertically upward direction. So under equilibrium, buoyant force is equal to weight of the block only. Buoyant force is equal to weight of the block. What is the buoyant force? Buoyant force is equal to volume of the body, volume of the liquid displaced by the body. Suppose the area of cross section of this body is equal to say capital A. Then area of cross section into length of the block submerged in the liquid, that is equal to h minus h naught. H minus h naught. That is the length of the block, wooden block submerged inside the liquid is equal to h minus h naught. This is h minus h naught. Area of cross section to length of the block submerged in the liquid is equal to this one. That is the volume of the liquid displaced into density of liquid rho L. Use mass of the liquid displaced into the weight of the liquid displaced, which is equal to mass of the block into acceleration due to gravity, where m mass of block, mass of the block. Okay, from this gz cancel. Okay, therefore h minus h naught is equal to m by a into rho L. H minus h naught is equal to h minus h naught is equal to this one. H minus h naught is equal to m by a into rho L. This is equation say 1. From this equilibrium position, the block is displaced a little bit y downwards. Whenever the block is floating like this, the net force acts on the block is 0. From this equilibrium position, whenever it is displaced a little bit downwards, the additional liquid is displaced when it is further submerged. Due to that additional force acts, that additional force is the restoring force. Therefore, when block is displaced downwards by a distance y, by a small distance y, comma, then కొంచెం additional గా small distance y display చేసినప్పుడు immediately the block, when you release them, the block rises up. That means when additionally the block is displaced by a distance y, then the force acts on the block, brings the block back to its original position. That's why that is called restoring force. Then restoring force acts on block. F is equal to, what is the additional buoyant force acts on the block? Additional buoyant force, FB additional, that is equal to, this is the restoring force, that's why you put minus sign. Minus FB means additional area of cross section of the block into additional distance displaced downwards, AY, that is the volume of the additional volume of the liquid displaced into density of liquid gives mass into the weight. It is the additional buoyant force. Therefore, this is the net force acts on the block. Therefore, mass into acceleration A is equal to minus capital A rho L Z into Y, or A is equal to minus A rho L Z by M into Y. for the given arrangement, area of cross section of the block does not change. Capital A. Area of cross section of block. It is acceleration. Okay. So for the given arrangement, A does not change, rho L does not change, M does not change, G is constant. That's why A is equal to minus some constant into Y. Or A is proportional to minus Y, you can write. So it is the required condition for SHM. Therefore, we can use the formula minus A omega square into Y is equal to A. Compare these two. Then omega is equal to square root of A rho LZ by M. It is the angular frequency that is equal to 2 pi by capital T. Implies time period is equal to 2 pi into root of M by area of cross section into density of liquid into C. Sometimes you will be given, mass is not given, density of the block will be given. Whenever the density of the block is given, in such case, how we can write the same formula? This is the time period of the load, time period of the body floating over the surface of the liquid. Where M is the mass of the body floating, rho L is the density of the liquid, A is the area of cross section. Vertical cross section of the block is the acceleration due to gravity. Okay. Okay. Now, if density of the block, density of block or body is rho into rho B, then mass is equal to area of cross section to length. Length of the block H gives volume into density of the body gives mass. Okay. Instead of M, you can substitute here. Instead of M, you can substitute this one. Therefore, time period T is equal to 2 pi into root of M means AH into rho B by A rho L into C. So here A cancel. Therefore, that implies time period T is equal to 2 pi into root of H into rho B by rho L Z. H by G into density of the body by density of the liquid. This is the formula for time period in terms of densities. Sometimes you will be given, instead of density of the body, you can give the specific gravity or relative density of the body. Relative density of liquid also can be given. In such case, 2 pi into root H by Z into Kb by KL also we can write. Kb, KL are the relative densities. Or, okay, this is the non-viscous liquid. Sorry, this is the non-viscous liquid. Non-viscous liquid only. No. Here viscous force is not considered because it is a non-viscous liquid. Non-viscous liquid, very good. Non-viscous liquid. In case of non-viscous liquid only, as the viscous force is not considered, that's why it is the non-viscous liquid. While making oscillations like this, no viscous force acts on the block. That's why it is in case of non-viscous liquid only, it is possible. Okay. Already, Mr. Devanshi, already I kept in the group now. Already I kept the notes in the group. Anyhow, still I will keep again today also in the group again. Okay. So this is the case. So it is the time period of oscillating body which is floating over the surface of the liquid. Okay. Next, in case of a U-shaped tube filled with liquid. Okay. Shall I erase this part? Next, 11th one. A U-tube of cross-section area capital A contains a liquid. Let H be the length of the liquid in each limb of the tube. Here there is a U-shaped tube. Okay, you see here, this is the U-shaped tube. This is the U-shaped tube. Initially, whenever it is filled with liquid, then initially the liquid columns in the two limbs of the U-shaped tube are at the same height. Suppose the liquid columns are here. Initially, whenever the liquid is poured in the limb of the tube, then the liquid columns reaches the same level and they are under equilibrium. Now, whenever they are under equilibrium, at that time, the height of the liquid column in the each tube is h. Suppose the length of the liquid column in the horizontal tube is say this one is say L. L is very small. H by far less. Sorry, H by far greater than L. So length of the liquid column in this horizontal tube is negligible. H is by far greater than L. But in order to see the diagram here clearly, I drawn with more length, but actually H by far greater than L. That means the length of the liquid column in this tube is very large compared with this length. That's why this length can be neglected. The mass of the liquid in this horizontal tube can be ignored. That is the concept. Okay. Now, whenever the liquid is under equilibrium, at that time, the two liquid levels in the two limbs of the vertical limbs of the U-shaped tube are at the same height. At that time, whenever the two liquids are at the same level, at that time the length of the liquid column in each vertical limb is small h. H, length of liquid column in each limb. Length of the liquid column in each limb is h. Okay, now from this position, suppose in one limb the liquid level is depressed a little bit downwards. Suppose the liquid level is depressed downwards, a distance equal to y, say. In one limb, at initial, whenever the liquid columns are in equilibrium, on the surface of this liquid column, any force acts on them, net force. Any net force acts on them, because in this direction, whatever the force acts, in this direction, force is same. That's why net force acts on this liquid column remains the same. ఈ లిక్విడ్ కాలం మీద ఇటువైపు ఎంత ఫోర్స్ పనిచేస్తుంది, ఇటువైపు కూడా అదే ఫోర్స్, కాబట్టి నెట్ ఫోర్స్ యాక్ట్స్ ఆన్ దిస్ లిక్విడ్ కాలం బికమ్స్ జీరో. నౌ వెనెవర్ ద లిక్విడ్ లెవెల్ ఇన్ వన్ ఆఫ్ ది లిమ్స్ ఈస్ డిప్రెస్డ్ a little bit distance y, then in this limb, what is the height up to which the liquid level rises? If this liquid level falls to a distance y, whenever it is depressed to a distance y, in this side, what is the length of the liquid column rises? That is equal to y only, no? ఇక్కడ ఎంత డిస్టెన్స్ కిందకి ఫాల్ అవుతుంది, ఇక్కడ అంత డిస్టెన్స్ పైకి రైజ్ అవుతుంది. సో దిస్ ఇస్ ఈక్వల్ టు y. Therefore, now the liquid levels in the vertical limbs are like this. Here, this is the difference in vertical heights of liquid columns when liquid level is displaced by a distance equal to y. That is equal to 2y, no? Y. So now, whenever the liquid column is displaced by a distance y, then the difference in liquid levels, difference in vertical heights of the liquid levels is equal to 2y. Then, whatever the difference, you see, this liquid level comes down and occupies the position here. This liquid level is here. Compared with this liquid level is 2h height more, no? 2y height more, no? What is the weight of this liquid column of height y, 2y? That is the net force acts on this liquid column. So therefore, weight of liquid column of length 2y is equal to, you see, ఈ లిక్విడ్ కాలమ్ ని y length డిఫరెన్స్ చేసినప్పుడు y length రైజ్ అవుతుంది, కాబట్టి the difference in length of the liquid columns in the two limbs is equal to 2y. ఇది ఇక్కడ ఉంటే ఇక్కడ నుంచి ఇంకొంచెం హైట్ ఎక్కువ ఉంది, అంటే ఈ అడిషనల్ లెంత్ ఎంత అయితే ఉందో దానికి ఈక్వలెంట్ వెయిట్ అడిషనల్ గా ఈ లిక్విడ్ కాలం మీద పనిచేసే ఫోర్స్ అవుతుంది కదా. కాబట్టి వెయిట్ ఆఫ్ ది లిక్విడ్ కాలం ఆఫ్ లెంత్ 2y is equal to ఏరియా ఆఫ్ క్రాస్ సెక్షన్ ఆఫ్ ది ట్యూబ్, ఏరియా ఆఫ్ క్రాస్ సెక్షన్ of each tube, each limb, you write each vertical tube or each limb. Then area of cross section into length of the additional length of the liquid column 2y gives volume of the additional liquid column into rho, density of the liquid column, mass. Okay, weight means G. It is the additional here it is the weight of the liquid column of length 2y. So this is the western force acts on this liquid column, because whenever this liquid column rises here, because of this additional weight, the additional weight, when you release the liquid column, then because of additional weight, again the liquid column comes down. That's why this weight of the liquid column of length 2y acts as the restoring force acts on the liquid column. Therefore, restoring force acts on the liquid column. On liquid column. This restoring force acts on the entire liquid column. That's why, because of that restoring force acts on entire liquid column, the entire liquid column will move like this, move back to the original position. That's why this is the restoring force acts on liquid column. F is equal to as it is a restoring force, you write minus sign, minus A into 2y into rho L into Z. This is equal to mass of the liquid column into acceleration of the liquid column. That is equal to minus 2A rho L Z into Y. Or acceleration of the liquid column A is equal to minus 2A rho L Z by mass of the liquid column M into Y. Y is the displacement of the equilibrium position of the liquid level. అంటే లిక్విడ్ లెవెల్ ఈక్విలిబ్రియం పొజిషన్ ఉన్నప్పుడు ఎంత డిస్టెన్స్ డిస్ప్లేస్ అయిందో అది. This is equal to minus 2A rho L Z by mass of the liquid. Here M is the total mass of the liquid column. Here, because of this Western force, the total mass of the liquid column will accelerate. That's why here M is the total mass of the liquid column. Total mass of the liquid column M. Total mass of liquid column of length H. So mass of the liquid column means area of cross section of the liquid column into length of total length of the liquid column is equal to, we can write 2H, because actually H plus H, 2H plus L. L can be neglected. That's why 2H is the length of the liquid column. Area of cross section to length of the liquid column is volume into density of the liquid column rho L. So here rho L cancel, A cancel, 2 cancel. That is equal to minus Z by H. So therefore net acceleration is equal to, sorry, Y is there, no? Y. Therefore, minus Z by H into Y. This is equation 1. For the given arrangement, G is constant. Under equilibrium, H does not change. H is constant. Whenever it is making oscillation, only Y value changes. Okay, that's why Y is only variable. Due to that, A changes. So from this, A is proportional to minus pi. No? Therefore, as A is proportional to Y, the liquid column, when it oscillates with a small distance Y, then it makes simple harmonic oscillations. Therefore, liquid column is in SHM. Liquid column is in SHM. Okay, therefore, what is the time period? Therefore, whenever in SHM, A is equal to minus omega square Y, that formula is obeyed by the oscillating liquid column. So, compare these two. Instead of omega square, we have Z by H. Omega is equal to root Z by H. No? When you compare these two, that is equal to time period 2 pi by time period capital T. Therefore, time period T is equal to 2 pi into root of H by Z. This is the formula. T is equal to 2 pi into root H by Z. So H means before making oscillations, what under equilibrium, whatever the vertical distance of the liquid column in the each limb, that is the height of the liquid column. Sometimes you will be given the total length of the liquid column as H, then this length is equal to H by 2. So in this formula, we have to write H by 2 if it is asked like that. Okay. Okay. So this is one more case. Tomorrow I will discuss the physical pendulum. Tomorrow I will discuss the physical pendulum, torsional pendulum, some physical pendulum. With that, some spheres or discs attached to the spring, and when made to oscillate, what is the time period? There are some cases are there. Tomorrow I will discuss that. Okay, Nana. Have a nice day. I'm signing out. Bye, all of you.